الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام عليك يا رسول الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا حبيب الله الصلاة والسلام عليك يا نبي الله وعلى آلك وأصحابك يا نور الله. My dear Islamic brothers, the bayan today is entitled Cure for Anger. Please lower your gazes and listen carefully to the bayan in order to attain the maximum benefits and reward. It is stated in a hadith sharif that a believer's intention is better than his action. So please let us make the intention that we will listen to the bayan with full concentration and act upon the madani pearls and flowers from the bayan, in order to save ourselves and our Muslim brothers and sisters from the fire of hell, and gain the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal and His beloved Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Sallu ala al-Habib. Dear Islam brothers, Nabi Rahmat, Shafi'a Ummat, Shanshah Nubuwat, Tajdar Risalat, Sallallahu Ta'ala Alaihi wa Alihi Wasallam said, last night I witnessed a strange scene. I saw one person from my nation who was crossing the bridge of Sirat, but dragging himself and crawling on his knees. Suddenly, the peace and blessings that he sent on me arrived and made him stand up straight on the bridge, to the extent that he crossed the bridge walking. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. Dear Islam brothers, Sayyidina Faqih Abu Las Samarkandi alayhi rahman narrates in Tanbihul Ghafilin. Sayyidina Wahab bin Munabbih alayhi rahman narrates, a pious man from the children of Israel went somewhere once. On the way, at one spot, a stone plateau fell from the top, close to his head. He started a zikr of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it moved away from him. Scary beasts then and lions started to appear in front of him, but he did not panic and continued with the zikr of Allah Azza wa Jal. When the pious man started his salah, a snake wrapped itself around his foot and crawled over his body, so much so that it reached his head. When the pious man intended to prostrate, the snake would wrap itself around his face. When he would bow his head to perform sajda, the snake would open his mouth as if to bite his forehead. But the pious man would remove him and successfully perform sajda. When he finished praying, Satan openly came in front of him and said, I was the one who was doing all this. You have a lot of courage. I am quite impressed by you. Therefore, I have decided that I won't ever whisper any evil to you. Please be my friend. The pious man from the children of Israel refuted this attack of Satan also and said, you tried to scare me, but Alhamdulillahi Azza wa Jal, I did not get scared. I will never be your friend. Satan said, Okay, ask me the states of your family after you, and what will they go through? The pious man said, I do not need to ask you. Satan then said, at least ask me how I deceive people. The man said, yes, tell me that. Satan said, I have 3 traps. Number 1, love of money. 2, anger. And number 3, intoxication. Explaining all three of these, he said, when I cast the net of love or money on someone, he gets stuck in the web of wealth. I keep reminding him that you have very little money. This way he gets engrossed in the love of money and even refrains from spending on obligatory matters and even gets attracted to other people's money. And this way he gets entrapped in the love of money and falls into this major sin. When someone falls in my trap of anger, I play with him and toss him around in my group of Satans in the same way that children play with a ball. An angry person, regardless of his high status or knowledge, even if he can resurrect the dead with his prayers, I am never upset with him. I always hope that someday he will lose control in a burst of anger and say something that will destroy his hereafter. As for intoxication, the person who falls in this trap, the drunk or the drug addict, I take him by the ear towards evil, the way a shepherd takes the sheep to graze. In this way, Satan explained that the person who gets angry a lot is played with in the same way that children play with a ball. This is why, my dear Islam brothers, the person who gets angry should resort to patience so that he does not become a prisoner to Satan and waste his good deeds. In the conversation with the pious man, Satan informed him that he plays with the angry person in the same way that children play with a ball. Therefore, it is necessary to treat anger. Satan should not be able to destroy our good deeds due to anger. Hujjatul Islam Imam Muhammad Ghazali alayhi rahmah says in his book, treating anger, and in this context, working hard by forbearing and persevering is obligatory. Fard. Sayyidina Hasan Basri alayhi rahmah says, oh man, you jump a lot in anger. What if this jump launches you into hell? Mufti Ahmad Yar Khan alayhi rahmah says, anger is that instinct of oneself that compels him to avenge another person or drive him away. My dear Islam brothers, a lot of bad deeds are created due to anger, which are extremely destructive for the hereafter, such as envy, backbiting, tale-bearing, holding grudges, breaking ties, lying, insulting and disrespecting others' honor, considering someone to be inferior, using profanity and foul language, arrogance, violence, mocking others, losing compassion, selfishness, expressing happiness at another person's loss, and being ungrateful. Indeed, if someone is angry, he feels happy with the person he is angry at suffers a loss. If the person is in distress, the person feels happy. He forgets all the favors of the person he is angry with and breaks ties with him. Some people hide their anger in their heart and it does not leave their hearts for years, and due to this reason they do not participate in gatherings of joy or sadness. The anger of people who seem to be pious becomes apparent by the fact that they no longer do any favors for the person they are angry with like they did before. They do not treat them compassionately. If the person they are angry with organizes a religious gathering, they do not attend merely to satisfy their own ego. Some relatives are such that no matter how much a person treats them nicely, they never come back on the right track. But we shouldn't be upset or lose hope. It is stated in Jamiatul Saghir, the translation of which is, reattach ties with the one who severes it. Maulana Jalaluddin Rumi alayhi rahmah states, the translation of which is, you have come here to create bonds, not to break them. Dear Islam brothers, anger can practically be treated by a person making himself aware of the reward, the control of anger and persevering. Whenever someone gets angry, he should ponder over these rewards and try to control his anger. It is stated in Sahih Bukhari that one man once presented himself to the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and requested, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, advise me, command me something. Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam replied, refrain from anger. He asked the same question a few times, and every time Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam gave him the same reply, refrain from anger. Sallu ala al-Habib sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. My dear Islam brothers, Sayyidina Abu Darda radiyallahu ta'ala states, I requested, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, tell me a deed that will take me to heaven. The beloved Rasul of Allah Azza wa Jal wa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam replied, translation, avoid getting angry and heaven is for you. It is stated in Sahih Bukhari, the strong person is not the one who can put down his opponent, but the one who can control his anger. It is stated in Kanzul Umar Sultan Makkatul Mukarramah, Tajdar Madinatul Munawwara sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam has stated, the meaning of which is the one who controls his anger even though he could have taken revenge. On the day of judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal will sanctify his heart with his Azza wa Jal's divine pleasure. Another cure for anger is that when someone gets angry, he should remember the practices of the pious slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal and what they used to do to control their anger. My dear Islam brothers, please listen with the ears of your heart as I am going to narrate to you some faith-enlightening incidents involving the control of anger by our pious saints and the Sahaba alayhimu ridwan. A person once swore at Sayyidina Salman Farsi radiyallahu ta'ala an. He radiyallahu ta'ala an replied, if on the day of judgment my scale of sinful deeds is heavier than that of my good deeds, then I am worse than what you have called me. If it is lighter, then I do not care what you just called me. A person once swore at Sayyidina Shaykh Rabi bin Qasim radiyallahu ta'ala an. He radiyallahu ta'ala an said, Allah Azza wa Jal has heard what you have said. There is a distance between me and heaven and I am busy to cover it. If I am successful in covering that distance, then I do not care what you have said. If I am unsuccessful, then your curse is not enough for me. A person once swore at Amir al-Mu'mineen, Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq, radiyallahu ta'ala an. He, radiyallahu ta'ala an, replied, I also have other faults like this, which Allah Azza wa Jal has concealed from you. My dear Islam brothers, what a beautiful reply. Hazrat Siddiq Abu Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala an, his high status, his high rank, due to his piety, due to his devotion to Allah and his beloved Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, the Messenger sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam himself gave him the glad tidings of paradise in this dunya. Yet when someone insults him, he radiyallahu ta'ala an, instead of getting angry back at him, replied in a beautiful manner by saying, I also have other faults like this, which Allah Azza wa Jal has concealed from you. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. Dear Islam brothers, once someone told Sayyidina Fudail bin Iyad radiyallahu ta'ala an that someone was talking bad about him. He radiyallahu ta'ala an replied, I swear by Allah Azza wa Jal, I will upset Satan. He then did dua. Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, whatever that person has said regarding me, if I possess those faults, then forgive me and guide me. And if that person made false accusations against me, bless him with your forgiveness. A person was once openly and blatantly speaking badly about Sayyidina Bakr bin Abdullah Muzni alayhi rahmah, and he rahmatullah alayhi was not saying anything in retaliation. He was asked why he was not saying anything. He rahmatullah alayhi replied, I am not aware of any of his bad habits to speak ill of him. Why should I indulge in a major sin by slandering him? Subhanallah Azza wa Jal. My dear Islam brothers, these pious slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal were such excellent people, and with what excellence they used to control their anger. They knew that getting angry and retaliating at their opponent for the sake of their own ego is a futile exercise. The destruction, my dear Islam brothers, caused by anger should also be known, because anger breeds violence, causes rifts between brothers, divorce between a husband and wife, hatred amongst people, death and destruction. If someone gets angry and feels like being violent and causing damage or harm, he should tell himself, even if I have some strength over others, Allah Azza wa Jal is infinitely stronger than that over me. If in a burst of anger I break somebody's heart or commit injustice against them, then on the day of judgment, how will I escape the wrath of Allah Azza wa Jal? My dear Islam brothers, Nabi Rahmat, Shafi Ummat, Shanshah Nabuwat, Tajdar Risalat, Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, once called a slave, but the slave arrived late. The Sultan of Medina, Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, had a miswak in his blessed hands. Rasulullah Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, if revenge was not exacted on the day of judgment, I would have hit you with this miswak. Dear Islam brothers, our Holy Prophet Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam never took revenge for the sake of his own self. On the other hand, we have the Muslim of today, where if someone makes a little mistake, then people resort to cursing, swearing, backbiting, and even using violence. It is narrated in Sahih Muslim that Sayyidina Abu Mas'ud Ansari alayhi rahmah says, I was beating my slave, and I heard a voice from behind me which said, Oh Abu Mas'ud, you should be aware that how much power you have over this slave, Allah Azza wa Jal has more power than that over you. I looked back, and it was the beloved Rasul Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. I requested, Ya Rasulullah Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, he is free for earning the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal. The Sultan of Medina Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam then said, if you did not do this, the fire of hell would have burned you, or said that the fire of hell would have touched you. Dear Islam brothers, did you notice how much the blessed companions alayhimu ridwan used to love Allah Azza wa Jal and His Rasul Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam? Sayyidina Abu Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala an, as soon as he realized our Aka Nabi Rahmat Sallallahu Ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam was displeasured at his act, not only stopped hitting the slave, but accepted his own mistake and set him free. Today, people scold, taunt, shout, swear and beat those under them without any valid Shari reason and without realizing that Allah Azza wa Jal is stronger than them. He Azza wa Jal is watching our injustice and aggression. Indeed, salvation lies in letting go, being kind and forgiving and persevering with those who are under our authority. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. My dear Islam brothers, now listen carefully to this faith-enlightening event. Once, a man's wife put too much salt in his food, and he became furious with anger, but he refrained from acting on it, thinking to himself, I also commit a lot of mistakes. If I behave harshly with my wife today on her mistake, what if Allah Azza wa Jal is harsh with me on the day of judgment at my mistakes? Therefore I forgave my wife. After he died, someone saw him in a dream and asked him, how did Allah Azza wa Jal treat you? He replied that he was about to be tortured, tormented and punished due to his sins, but then he was told he forgave a slave of Allah Azza wa Jal for adding extra salt in his food, and because of that, Allah Azza wa Jal forgave him. Dear Islam brothers, it is narrated in a hadith that the person who prevents his anger on the day of judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal will prevent him from punishment. When someone quarrels with us or talks badly about us, staying silent is the way to our salvation. Even though Satan might whisper in your ears to reply and retaliate for fear of being called a coward, or that these are bad times and staying silent lest people take advantage of one, etc. A hadith is mentioned here which you must pay careful attention to. You will realize that when someone talks badly to you, staying silent takes you close to the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal. It is narrated in Musnad Imam Ahmad, a man once called Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an bad names in the presence of the Holy Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an replied to some of his comments in a dignified manner. But then Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam got up from there and left. Sayyidina Abu Bakr Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala an followed the beloved Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam and requested, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam, he was calling me bad names and you was present. And when I replied to him, you got up and left. The Rahmatul Alameen sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wasallam replied, there was an angel with you who was replying to the man. When you started replying, Satan jumped in. So that is why I left. Dear Islam brothers, you might have said something and regretted it, but chances are that you would not have regretted staying silent in anger. It is narrated in Tirmidhi Sharif, he who stays silent attains salvation. It is said in Urdu that a silent person beats 100. Ek chup, so sukh. Sayyidina Shaykh Sadi rahmatullah alayhi narrates in Bustani Sadi, a pious man never even spoke ill of his personal enemies. Whenever someone was mentioned, he used to say only something nice. After he died, someone saw him in a dream and asked, what has Allah Azza wa Jal done with you? He rahmatullah alayhi heard this and smiled and said in a very sweet voice, in the world I tried not to say anything wrong about anyone. The Natirin, i.e. the angels of questioning in the grave, did not ask me any tough questions, and in this way my affair was very good. My dear Islam brothers, as you have seen, being soft-hearted and persevering and forgiving earns great rewards from Allah Azza wa Jal. I wish we could learn to forgive those who insult us and cause us harm. It is stated in Sahih Muslim that whatever has softness in it grants beauty to it. And whatever loses its softness becomes faulty. It is stated in Iyahul Ulum that a man was supplicating to Allah Azza wa Jal, Ya Allah Azza wa Jal, I do not have any riches to give in charity. All I have is that if a Muslim insults me, I forgive him. The blessed Rasul of Allah Azza wa Jal wa sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam received a revelation upon this, that this slave has been forgiven. It is narrated in Abu Dawood that the one who controls his anger in spite of being able and capable to act otherwise, on the day of judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal will call him in front of the entire creation and say to him that he can choose and take whichever heavenly woman he likes. Sallu ala al-Habib, sallallahu ta'ala ala Muhammad. My dear Islam brothers, it is wrongly said that anger is haram. In fact, anger is an involuntary human emotion. It is natural for a human to get angry. This is not a person's fault. However, misusing one's anger is wrong. Sometimes anger is necessary. For example, at times of jihad, if a person does not get angry, how will he fight the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal? In any case, it is not possible for a human not to get angry naturally. However, what should be done is that its impact should be turned in a different direction. For example, before being in the Madani environment of Dawat Islami, a person was in bad company and used to get angry a lot and curse and swear at people or pick fights. After entering the Madani environment of Dawat Islami and traveling on the Madani Qaflas of the Ashiqan Rasul sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the person still might retain his same instincts, but the direction of the impact of his anger will have changed. Now he feels angry at the enemies of Allah Azza wa Jal and His Prophet sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and His beloved blessed companions alayhim ridwan instead. But for the sake of his own ego, no matter how cruel someone is towards him, he remains patient. He gets angry at himself, saying, I won't let you commit any sins. It is stated in hadith that a person who controls his anger despite being capable of acting on it, Allah Azza wa Jal will fill his heart with tranquility and pride. Meaning, if someone caused you harm and you got angry and you could have retaliated, but just for the sake of earning the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, you control your anger, Allah Azza wa Jal will grant you peace in your heart and mind and fill your heart with the light of faith. This, my dear Islam brothers, shows that at times getting angry might be helpful, if it is in one's fate to control his anger. Hence, by controlling one's anger, one achieves all the merits and reward from Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal. My dear Islam brothers, when you do get angry, resort to one or as many required cures from amongst these as possible. Number one, recite A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim. Number two, read Wala Hawla Wala Quwwata Illa Billah. Stay silent, make wudu, sniff water in your nose the way you do for wudu. If you are standing, sit down. If you are seated, lie down and hug the ground. Put your cheek on the ground. If you have wudu, before sajda. If you have wudu, perform sajda, so that you realize you are made of clay and getting angry at a slave of Allah does not befit you. Number 9, move away from the person you're getting angry at. Think that if you get angry, the other person will also get angry and retaliate, and one should never assume the enemy is weak. If you spoke harshly to someone in a state of anger, apologize. Apologize to that person in front of others and state the reason for your apology. In this way, the ego will feel belittled and insulted, and the next time you are angry, you will remember this, and maybe by doing this, you might even get rid of anger for good. Pay attention to the fact that today, at the mistake of an ordinary human, I am angry and not ready to forgive him. In spite of me also being a human and having countless mistakes, if Allah Azza wa Jal gets angry at me and does not forgive me, what will become of me on the day of judgment? If someone is cruel towards you or commits a mistake, and you get angry at him for the sake of your own ego, then to forgive this person is a means of earning reward. So think to yourself that when I get angry, why shouldn't I become worthy of earning reward? And what a great reward it is. My dear Islamic brothers, listen to this. What a great reward it is, because it is stated in a hadith, an announcement will be made on the day of judgment that those whose rewards are with Allah Azza wa Jal, stand up and enter heaven. It will be asked as to what this reward is for. It will be said, for those who used to forgive for the sake of Allah. Responding to this, thousands of people will stand up and enter heaven without giving any kind of accountability. Now, my dear Islamic brothers, this is the barakat of Amir al-Sunnat Damat Barakatum Aliyah. This is the barakat of Dawat Islami. If we look at the Madni Inamat, the 72 points the Amir al-Sunnat Damat Barakatum Aliyah has given us, the Madni point number 8 asks, today, when angry, did you speak out, or did you remain silent and control your anger? Moreover, did you forgive or seek opportunities for revenge? My dear Islamic brothers, what a beautiful Madni Inamat. What a beautiful way of controlling our anger and gaining the pleasure of our Lord and Creator, Azza wa Jal. My dear Islamic brothers, please attach yourselves to this beautiful Madni environment of Dawat Islami. Read and act upon the Madni Inamat. Travel on the Madni Qafilas of Dawat Islami. Travel with the Ashqan Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And with the blessings of this, inshallah Azza wa Jal, you too will see a change in yourselves. You too will see a change in your households. And if Allah Azza wa Jal wills, we will all see a change in the whole world. And most importantly, my dear Islamic brothers, we will save ourselves from the torments and punishments of the grave, the day of judgment and hellfire. May Allah Azza wa Jal enable us to remember and act upon what has been said, and forgive me if any wrongdoing has been committed.